Gentlemen, welcome to episode 10 of the Turbo Tuesday podcast here with NXTGEN Racing. It's good to be into the double figures for the first time, and I'm delighted to say that we are effectively now a good portion of the way through the season. It's going well so far, but to discuss everything, of course, in relation to Championship and how things are going, joining me, Jack, of course, is also Jordan, is with us tonight.
Good evening.
And as usual, Mikey has joined us as well.
Good evening, chaps. How are we?
Well,
Going quite well.
not well. Jack's happy. I'm all right.
Oh, I'm buzzing.
We'll have a discussion, I think, later about how things are going. Obviously, we've got a few things to talk about in terms of the leagues and how everything has been conducted over the last week of racing. Obviously, we will start off with the Wednesday leagues and then finish with the tonight's league. I say tonight's league, unfortunately, the Lamborghini Super Trofeo League on Gran Turismo Sport has ended, unfortunately prematurely due to the number of drivers in the lobby. We were down to 5 last week, so it's a good time to call it quits. We'll have an announcement on the championship winner as and when we get that, though, as 70% of the season has been completed. So we'll see how that is, but might as well crack on, shall we, gents? Wednesday league, the one that we have, Grand GT3 on Assetto Corsa Competizione for the PlayStation 4, Jord.
Yeah, I'm just seeing if I'm pretty certain Kevin's done this. Have a look or not. I'm gonna have to look on the events page. Give me 1 second, because I know.
Elevator music will come in handy.
Oh, I know. I'm pretty certain I saw a message from Elliot in the chat say that the tables were out, so are you there? So GT3 League went to Spa-Francorchamps. I was due to race, but due to things outside of my control, I couldn't join in the end. But obviously this was the first race in which the two lobbies were merged together. Due to obviously numbers, they did start with 2 lobbies, but with obviously people dropping out and stuff, they decided to merge to one to just have a fuller lobby, which is always a good thing to do. In terms of the way the classes were, the pro class, the lobby 1, Kill City took maximum points. He's on 141 points, with Lucan taking 7 points. He's on 99. Mr. Robot LF didn't race. Lely 9 took 3rd place. He's now on 77 points, joint with NXTGEN Hankin, who took 9 points. A bit strange how there's no 18. I got a feeling that the race points on here aren't quite subject to the classes, but there we go. So I may have to ask Elliot about it, because I think he's just put the race result rather than splitting the classes out, which is a bit on the weird side. But in general, Kill City won the race. Then it was Mike Ferrerat who finished 2nd overall in the race, followed by Lely 9. Then you had Hemo 444 Ever US, then Bean Flicker, followed by Stu Packham, and just rounding us out with 10 points. Well, apparently no one got 10 points, so that's even more interesting. But yeah, that's generally the gist of it. Kill City won and everyone else followed.
Seems to be the tone of the season, realistically, isn't it? And
it has been for many seasons, even back on the original Assetto Corsa season. I mean, I think he won about 4 straight, I want to say, probably more. And he absolutely dominated on the Assetto Corsa, on the original one. He took every point possible on about three seasons. He hasn't taken every point possible this time, though, because Mr. Robot LF has taken a couple of extra points, so...
But Mr. City how far ahead is he in the championship standings at the moment, Jordan?
Well, at the moment it's stating 42, but again, I'm not entirely convinced on the basis that the race points don't relate to how the class is finished. They relate to how the overall was. So I may have to talk to Elliot and see what happened with that.
Still certainly a chance, though, that he could win the title come next week.
Yeah, well, tomorrow.
Comes tomorrow, yeah.
Comes tomorrow,
Sorry,
yeah.
bad.
Yeah, no, there's absolutely every chance, but you just have to wait and see.
We will indeed. So we'll wait with bated breath on that one, ladies and gentlemen. We'll move over to the Thursday leagues. Obviously, we'll start off with Gran Turismo Sport before we go over to Assetto Corsa on PC. We'll look at the Megans as we always do. I'll have a talk about Lobby 2 in a moment, but Jordan, are you happy to talk about Lobby 1 first?
Can you do yours first? I'm literally just doing a couple of things for the other leagues.
Whilst Jordan has a little scan through, Megans were fantastic in Lobby 2 as always. Looking into terms of the racing itself, it was quite action-packed throughout, not so much for the lead. Despite a bogged down start for Martin, he managed to get back in front in the end and he ended up winning the race, did Martin JL09. It was pretty dominant in the end. He is looking very comfortable now in terms of the championship title, but he's still got 3 rounds to go, so he needs to make sure he keeps up his level of driving at the moment. There was a wonderful scrap for second place. Seamus, Bertus, Danzo involved in that wonderful scrap. In the end, Seamus beating out Bertus, who in turn beat out his long-time rival of Danzo too. So it was a really good scrap for the positions. Bigsy again seems to be having a number of issues that are just outside of his control. I think he's probably been the unluckiest driver this season, is NXTGEN Bigsy, but we'll see how the final 3 rounds play out. Shadowstalker was the surprise of the qualifying session, the star of it, so to speak. 3rd place in qualifying, he was really on it. Had a terrible start, unfortunately, for Shadowstalker, and he dropped from 3rd to 12th, and then back up to 7th within the space of 2 laps, which is where he finished in the end. But had it not been for that start, that could have been his second NXTGEN podium ever, after the one he got in the final season of the Group A1 Tourers on Project Cars 2. So you can see the improvements that the drivers are making across the Megans at the moment. It's really good competitive league, and I think D10 Piper's been unlucky this season in Lobby 2. I think he's certainly got the ability to win races, which we've already seen. I just think that he's had a bit of bad luck. He got turned around as well, which involved himself and Bigsy, and it's going to be... I think he's going to have a really good crack at the next season, season 20. I think he's going to be up there in terms of fighting for the championship like he should be. But that's just so much race report from the Scirocco, rather than Megane Lobby 2.
Yeah, and just an update on the points for that. Martin JL09 is on 133, Snav on 110, so a little bit more difficult for Snav unless Martin has a bad race next time out. D10 Piper has 91, joint with Bertus, so a good scrap looking like that's going to form there. And Danzo on 89. Seamus has 92. I haven't actually sorted this out properly. Hang on. There we go. Sorry. So Snav third. Slow Seamus is third. He's on 92. D10 Piper, Sir Bertus on 91. Danzo 89. So we've got a really good battle forming there. Duds is on 77. Now, even though he's further away, I've got a feeling Duds obviously has a 0 drop score to play. So he could still get in that battle for third place right now.
He could indeed, and I think Duds has been relatively unlucky in the last few rounds. I know he's got a couple of podiums this season, but he's certainly capable of getting a potential, definitely another podium, but he's one to watch. He's one to watch for next season as well, I think, Duds.
Yeah. Meanwhile...
How was Lobby 1, Jordan? Was it the same winner at the top?
It was the same winner. He took every point possible, and but it was close. It was a close race and battles throughout. I haven't actually fully managed to get a chance to watch CJW stream, but I know I was involved in a mental battle near the back for about 7th place. I think I finished about 9th in the end. But yeah, Hero Crown 1, Ruddo 2nd, Hill Climb 3rd, Timmy 4th, Janio was in 5th. The top 5 even finishing in the top 5 positions. Rally Matt finished in 6th with Bruce Lee Harding in 7th. Now that was a really close one. That was a photo finish to the line. But in terms of the championship, Hirokram isn't fully away yet, but he did miss a round at Tsukuba, so I'm just going to play in his favour because he's got 17 points on Ruddo, but Ruddo's made every single race, and his lowest score looks to be a 13, so that 17 turns into 31 quite quickly.
And there's every theoretical possibility that Hirokram could wrap up the title next week in theory, but it's going to take a bit of work and a little bit of misfortune for Ruddo.
It will take a bit of work, but the problem is he won't really know that until round 9, really, when after round 9, even though the drop scores aren't cemented in place, I put out, as you know, Jack, a load of stipulations on what people's current scores would be if the drop scores were taken into account and the maximum they could achieve. So by after round 9, we will know for definite if Hirokram is going to win the title. Obviously, Ruddo could have a bad race. He could have a DNF or a 0 score, and if Hirokram has another 0 score, it brings Ruddo right in.
It does, absolutely, it does indeed. So we'll keep an eye on that, and obviously that's commentated on by both myself, JackTM53 on Twitch, and CJW Racing on Twitch as well. So
yeah,
good to have both lobbies commentated
next
on.
Next week's a cracker as well.
Well, where are we heading to on Thursday, Jord?
Some people might think this is evil, but Willow Springs, the Big Willow.
Big Willow, big circuit, good one to have a good jaunt around. We'll see how that race gets on, and like I say, live stream.
One mistake, you're going to Narnia, mate.
Absolutely. So moving swiftly forward then in terms of, the Siroccos that immediately followed after the McGann race. They went and had some fun, including Jordan, who had a bit of a, shall we say, dalliance with the runoff area at turn 1 on the opening lap. But I have to say, Hirokram is just in a world of his own. We are all living in Mr. Tesco's world in terms of the Siroccos. He's just off up the road, done. And I don't realistically think that anyone can challenge him on pure race pace.
Yeah, I mean, you say that. I mean, Timmy did beat him to pole position, though.
He did. Timmy did put in a great performance in qualifying, but I think consistency. Hirokram just.
Well, I think it's less consistency. I feel that on a 1 versus 1 basis, consistency, Hirokram has the winner every day of the week. But Timmy, Bruce, and Rally Matt all had a really nice opportunity to work together with each other to try and catch Hirokram, and it was working, but obviously some of them then decided to pull out that slipstream, and that's what killed them. Had they just stuck to a plan till at least up to as late as 3 minutes to go, had they stuck to the plan, I think Hirokram would have been under a lot more pressure come the end of that race.
Yeah, for certain, Jordan. I think that would have been true, but they didn't, and that was that. But we did end up having that wonderful fight between Bruce Lee Harding, Timmy, and Rally Matt, of course, who was leading championship in Lobby 2, came and joined in the fun because the two lobbies merged last week, and really put up a good performance. I did everyone in Lobby 2. There was no particular driver who was embarrassed. Everyone put in a good shift, as did Bertus and Danzo. But Hirokram took the win. Bruce Lee was second, Timmy third. Rally Matt was fourth in the end, but he took first in Lobby 2. D10 Piper was second in Lobby 2, followed by Bertus. So, looking interesting in terms of the results and championship standings. I'm certain in the Scirocco leagues.
Yeah, I think what people need to remember as well is that we merged the lobbies this week for the Siroccos, so even though Matt finished fourth in the race, the maximum points, I certainly took the fastest lap as well, looking at the way the lap times were in the stream. So just a thing to bear in mind when I read them out, because see, Hero Crown won, taking 22 points. Bruce Lee finishing second on 18. Timmy had 16 because he had the pole position point as well. So Hero Crown has 131 points. Bruce has 97, Timmy 90. I am on 83, only 1 point ahead of D Whitehouse at the moment, who's on 82. P Gibb has 79, so he's clawing his way back into the fray. D10 Piper 68, and then the rest of them are pretty much out because they've missed a few rounds. In terms of Lobby 2, Ronnie Matt took maximum points. He's on 137 at the moment. Danzo has 105. Snav has 101, so Snav's still in that little fight with Danzo over second place. Bertus has 96, so he's almost creeping in there. And then, kind of like everyone else, just missed a few rounds, so they're a bit further behind. But Jazzy Just doing well. He's up to 44 points at the moment from the few races that he's done.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Jazzy Just's come in and he's improving with every race, which is what you want to see when you join a racing league, improving your skills. So yeah, good to have him in the leagues. But I think pretty much that rounds off the GT Sports segment on a Thursday in any case. I think we'll move over to the GT3, GT4 mixed series on Assetto Corsa for PC, which is on a Thursday. Just to remind everyone so that they're aware of that. I'm stalling a little bit for time so that Jordan can get himself over
Already
to the
up.
tables. Fantastic. We can go from there then.
They went to Nürburgring, where they had a double sprint race. And it was Daniel Blomqvist who became the big winner of the evening, taking 2 victories. So a maximum 42 points taken from the evening for him, boosting him up into second place. We have a really weird thing going on because Daniel Holmer took a second place in race 1, and we seem to have a joint third between Paul Scott and E Uncle. I don't know whether that's absolutely right, whether they may have been a photo finish and couldn't have been split. I don't know, but they finished a joint third apparently in race 1, so it must be very, very close. In terms of race 2, obviously Daniel Blomqvist won again. The Uncle finished second with Paul Scott third once more, but Paul Scott still leads the way on 161 with Daniel Blomqvist on 153. Uncle was on 142. Holmer on 126, joint with Gaza Williams. Silver Arrow Shot, who unfortunately couldn't compete at Nürburgring, is on 97. Obviously everyone else just kind of follows on from there. Kevin Smith on 96. So obviously a lot of people, 20 people in the table, but yeah, it was looked like a good race again.
Oh, it does. It's obviously a competitive league with 20 drivers on the billing, so that's really positive for the PC league, and hopefully it'll be one that continues to grow. Whether that will work with the GT4s for next season is looking slightly skewed, shall we say on that front. But we will see what happens. Obviously, season 20 plans are still being formed at the moment. So
one of my plans has just been ruined.
Well, unfortunately, Jordan will have to go and cry somewhere to try and sort his other plan out. But let's get you away from the misery, Jord.
Just to let you know, the GT3, GT4 League go to Laguna Seca next week for a single endurance race.
Oh, that'll be interesting. Laguna Seca, good circuit on ACC, of course. Now, moving back over to Friday's work that we do in terms of the league racing, we've got the 3 different games, of course, on 2 different platforms. We've got GT Sport, Assetto Corsa and iRacing. I will cover iRacing in a little bit. But Jordan, in terms of the Focus League,
yeah,
I know you've got a few things to say.
Yeah, so Focus League, slightly smaller grid as we've been getting on, but still competitive as ever. But Hirakram produced an absolute masterclass once again, taking every point possible. Pete Gibbs second, Philo third, Logan Greenway got fourth place points because there was a filler in there in terms of Bruce, so he's not scoring at the moment. Snav took 12 points, Bifta 11, and we crowned our first champion of the next gen season. It's going to be official. Hirakram can no longer be caught because there's no drop scores in the league. He is now 70 points ahead of P. Gibb with a possible 69 remaining. So he will be winning that fantastic prize of a drive in a real Focus Cup car, which I think they've already prepared his seat about 3 rounds ago, to be fair. But yeah, absolute masterclass from him as per usual. He had to. It was a really weird stipulation. It was a case of if he won and took every point, he won. That was it. But if he didn't take every point and P. Gibb or Fila could nick a point and finish second, it would have carried on because there'd been 69 points in it. So mathematically, still possible, but obviously they needed to be 68 to be properly there. But yeah, it was a fantastic driving here, Graham, and a well-deserved champion.
Absolutely, I don't think you could say that about Hirakram to say that he's less deserving, because we know how wonderfully quick Hirakram is on Gran Turismo Sport. He's a phenomenal advocate for racing on Gran Turismo and has proven that he can compete with the best of them on the game as well. So I mean, what can someone do to stop him next season? I think it's going to take something monumentally special to stop Hirakram from just winning races in general, to be honest with you. Maybe a permanent qualifying ban in place or something to try and
100 kilogram of weight ballast.
He'd still find a way to when he's that fast. But yeah, it's you know, well done to Hirakram for taking the championship, really well deserved. And obviously in the Focus Cup he's going to get a magical prize in terms of getting that Focus Cup drive later on, well, COVID permitting of course, hopefully later on in the year, which will be fabulous for him to get a bit of experience under his belt.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Really good prize on offer in the Focus Cup. Shall we talk about GT4, the World Series, George?
Oh, we can do, yeah. Where is the picture? There it is. So obviously, as you can see on the screen, they went to Hungaroring, which is, as we know, gents, an incredibly tough circuit in any car. Just physically, for the amount of wheel movement you've got to do, it's non-stop. It's like a slightly bigger Monaco, but with less straight. Weirdly enough.
A little bit so, yeah.
But it was Silver Carter who took the victory at Hungaroring, followed by Hukan Lukan. Then it was Bean Flicker in third, Stu Packham fourth, and Next Gen Ultra, who's got a weird amount of points for where he probably finished there. And I think he might have been given half points because maybe he didn't quite finish the whole event. For one reason or another, he only took 7 points away. So in terms of the championship, Bean Flicker leads the way on 117 with Silver Carter on 111, so that is definitely not over. Only 6 points between them. Slayer has 92 with Gnarly Pop on 86. Zlatan has 73. Ultra 58. He's got Stu Packham closing in on him on 55. And there's Jamo 42, Gino Demmer on 38. Robbo for 24, Hukan Lukan on 18, and Big Matters on 7. They go to Zandvoort this Friday.
Sounds like it'll be another good race in Assetto Corsa, a league that's still blossoming, rather a game that's still blossoming within Next Gen, which is really good to see. It's always good to see the newer releases getting the shine that they deserve to have. So that's good to see Assetto Corsa having a good set of races, and we'll see how the GT4s move on. Still 3 rounds to go, of course. But we'll have a look at the next league on a Friday, the final league on a Friday, I should really say. The Porsche PMR Cup, that's on iRacing on PC, of course. and they went round racing at Alton Park for round 7. A lot of intense battles up and down the field, and there's a very tight championship challenge in terms of the points, but I'll come on to that in a minute. They did 2 races like they would usually do. Sprint race lasted 15 minutes and the feature race lasting 45. So for the sprint race, pole position went to David Ward, who not just took pole position, but he took the race win as well. He got first position. Matthew Hodges was second. Jamie Dorey was third in the sprint race. Those were the top 3. In the feature race, 45 minutes, so 3 times the length of the sprint. Matt Allen took pole position, but it was actually Dave Newsham who won the race, which is good for him around Alton Park. Obviously, Dave has completed very well in Alton Park over the past number of years when he was in the BTCC. Matt Allen was second in that race, and David Ward continued on from where he was earlier, so he finished third. In terms of the championship standings, it's very close at the top. Matt Allen leads on 199 points. David Ward is on 197 in second. Then you've got to go a little bit further back to third place. Dave Newsham is on 156. Fourth place is Will Orton on 126. Lee Horn is fifth on 117. Freddie Hewitt is sixth on 180, retired from the second race. Michael Seal is seventh on 97. Jeff Perkis is 8th on 94, Jamie Dorey 9th on 79, and Josh Malin didn't race last week, so he rounds out the top 10. There's 36 drivers registered for the PMR Porsche Cup though, so it's a highly attended series. Looks like the racing last week was into a nice solid set of figures, but not at the 36s, so that's a cracking championship at the moment. Looks like it's a really good, really well attended league at the moment for the Porsche PMR Cup, and obviously they're going to be going to Monza next week, so lots of action slipstreaming around that wonderful Italian circuit. Yeah, absolutely wonderful. So what we'll do then, we'll move on to Sunday. We do have 2 leagues on a Sunday, of course. R Factor 2 we'll talk about shortly. I'm going to jump in because he's been very quiet all the way through this, Mr. Mikey. Obviously hosts Lobby 2 for the BMW M4 League on Gran Turismo Sport. You went round into Lagos, Mike. How'd it go?
I'd like to say it went as well as the F1 did when we went. For me, it didn't. Yeah, obviously it wasn't raining, so that was a plus, I suppose. You know, good bit of racing once again. Pretty much nearly a full lobby. Had a few new entries in this week. That was fun. It's nice to have people wanting to get involved so late Tuesday in the league. So that's fun. To be fair, like it's nice to see someone else get the fastest lap and a race win. I was like, oh, this is fun. This could be interesting. It's yeah, might be someone to challenge Rick. So, well, obviously we'll have to see, but yeah, no issues. Pretty good racing actually, to be fair. Obviously I was at the back, you know. I've just got no pace in these BMs, but I do it because, to be fair, I do actually enjoy it. Still trying to get my head around the way GT Sport works and the handling physics and stuff, but I enjoy it, so yeah. But no, it was...
Who won, Michael?
Right, I've got to make sure I get this right. That's why I took 2 images, right? So, race 1 was TSR Atomic Sten, sorry. And then race 2 was obviously Rick WRX. But to be fair, mate, those two, was it Yeah, in the first race, it literally was a photo finish.
Crikey.
1/10 behind
Yeah, definitely
where
close.
it was. Obviously, it wasn't as close on the second race, but it was still really good competitive racing. So,
I feel as if I've heard the name TSR Atomic Stern before. Was he new
um,
to the league on Sunday?
he was. Trying to
I feel like I
think.
know the TSR name from somewhere. And I know
Um,
that Atomic Stern too.
Theo Frick is back.
Ah,
So that was nice to
good to have him
see
back.
an old race buddy, should we say?
Very
Many
old friend.
races. Yeah. A few races against him in the past, but I think I'm sure actually I love him. Trying to think. Yeah, two new people. Yeah, so it was quite good.
Oh, it's good. It's really good to hear the Fast R BMW M4 leagues going quite well, especially in Lobby 2. I don't believe there's any central points updated though in the Lobby 1, is there, Jordan? I don't believe.
Not from what I can see at the moment, no.
No, so obviously we still have to remember that it's Tuesday, admin incidents, anything that might have happened as a 24-hour turnaround before we can start posting results out. So might come up in the next day or so, and just keep an eye out on that on the NXTGEN Facebook page where we post all of the tables and information. But nevertheless, we still have one other league to cover on a Sunday, which is the ETCR League on R Factor 2. Now, relying on Jordan once again in terms of the central points, and you might be wondering, well, why don't one of the other two of you actually look at the points for a change and leave it all to Jordan? There's a good reason for that. Jordan's the man with the control of the of everything practically, so we just let Jordan do it.
Well, they went to Brands
George got the golden buzzer, as they say. George has the golden buzzer. Me and Jack just have the broken wires. Yeah.
No, Brands Hatch Indy they went for on Sunday, so it's definitely an interesting circuit to go to. Very easy to make a mistake. It's quite an old school style circuit, isn't it? Brands, you get a little bit of AstroTurf on the outside of corners, but beyond that it's just grass, and you do just go off. It's about the size of it.
Pretty much spot on, Jordan.
But it was Arno Channonnet who took the 2 wins, and Kenneth Andreasen took 2 second places. So the 2 championship protagonists taken first and second. Channonnet has 184 points to Andreasen's 173. So with what is effectively 6 races to go, because they've actually decided to not redo any of their rounds. They're just sticking with an 8-round schedule now after they had their issues at the start of the season. So they've only got 6 rounds left. In terms of other results, third was Bob Bartle in Brands Hatch Race 1, followed by Chris Needham, then Matthew Williams, Ollie Page, Kieran Williams, and then Kevin Smith at the back. In race 2, obviously you had Channonnet, Andreasen, Kieran Williams in the third, Kevin Smith fourth. It was 5th place for Andy Rule, Bob Bartle. 6th to Chris Needham. Then it went Ollie Page and Matthew Williams. So that championship's still very much on the brink, and the battle really extends for third, because Haddington, who didn't race at Brands Hatch GP, has 120 points. Behind him you've got Needham on 111. Kevin Smith, Ollie Page both have 109 and 103 for Matthew Williams. So that fight for third is still on as well, with just 3 rounds to go, and they head to Croft this Sunday.
Croft's a good circuit, to be fair.
What a circuit to go around, that's going to be fantastic.
Yet to personally visit myself, but it's up there as one of those places I want to go. There's always dead interest in the racing.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, seems like been a lot going on across the other leagues, which is really fun to see. Obviously, Sunday rounding off the week's racing, but obviously it all kicked off again on yesterday in terms of week, well, 8, I suppose, or round 8 realistically, although the minis a little bit more awkward on that front. But we had a lot of fun commentating on the GC Sport League for Coates versus Newsham and for the minis, Jordan. And well, I mean, realistically, were we to have expected anything else from Suzuka East, causing a lot of action, a lot of chaos, and again, the first double race winner of the season?
Yeah, it was definitely an interesting one. Lots of door rubbing, and due to certain things that happened, obviously we can't actually reveal the points yet. They're still in limbo, as we say. But talking racing, it was close. It was very, very close, and Les drove fantastically on both occasions. And this season, Les is really, in the nicest possible way, he is absolutely killed Four Fish and really taken advantage of his of Four Fish being unable to get through the pack in race 2 this season. He's really exploited that for his own gain, in the way that Les gets through the field and Four Fish just doesn't.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think that's, you know, I'd say that's more of a advantage that Les has over Four Fish than it more being a Four Fish having a weakness. I think let's not forget Four Fish is a very good driver, and we should always remember that, of course. Looking at it though, Les was fantastic. Every opportunity he got, he took advantage of, and you know, he took advantage in race 1 of the melee that was going on behind him, got away from it. Race 2, he drove through the melee, and again got away with it, and just drove off into the distance. And 2 race wins has put him in a wonderful position, and that's one result that's certainly not under any judicial process. I think it's like a lawyer then almost.
Don't go too far, Bill. Come on.
No. No court rulings. But in any case, he's driven excellently this season, Les. But he's still got a number of rounds to complete before it's all his. There's still a lot to play for, isn't there, Jordan?
It's still a lot, yeah. I mean, he has got a slightly bigger gap heading into Goodwood next week, but anything can happen around Goodwood. You make one. It's very much like Willow Springs. Goodwood. It's like the British version of Willow Springs. It's very, very quick, but you make one mistake and you're heading to Narnia in the fact that you clip the grass. You're not getting back on the circuit very quickly.
Unless you've got a drift car and your name's Mark Mikey, you're not going anywhere.
No, exactly. And I felt, and we were saying afterwards, we felt quite sorry for Philo in terms of his lobby, his race 2 sort of escapades over the grass, because GC Sport reset him right back.
That was race 1.
Was it race? Oh, apologies, race 1 indeed. Yes, because he was really on for what would have been probably a podium in that race, but reset him right the way back, and then race 2 just fell out of his hands, and all of a sudden is what was looking like a potential race win disappeared in the back of Les's exhaust pipes.
Yeah, and it's one of those things, and Philo drove very well in race 2. I mean, okay, granted he didn't get the win and that, but he drove very, very well. It was just a couple of laps he didn't quite hook up in the race, and it just allowed Les to be on the back of him. But yeah, there's a lot you can say about Philo, really. He's a bit of a fight, and he did use that reverse grid to his advantage in race 2. Let's not forget, he used it brilliantly. If he just hooked up those 2 laps, I think he would have won that. I wouldn't have said comfortably though, because Les was on fire in race 2, but he would have definitely had a better chance of winning that race.
Yeah, definitely. But where are we off? We're obviously off to Goodwood, but where are we off after that, Jordan? After Goodwood?
So after Goodwood we go Red Bull Ring Short, and then Brands Hatch GP for the final endurance race of the season.
Yeah, and we're yet to sit down and have a chat about that, aren't we? In terms of how that's going to play out, so that we can avoid what happened in the last endurance race, which we probably should have a chat about tonight, Jordan. Actually, after the podcast ends, with our fellow GT Sport driver Mikey helping to do a little bit of devil's advocate on that too.
Oh yeah, I'm a sheer professional at this. Don't worry.
On that note, just a quick one to go back onto the Monday stuff. Obviously, we'll be back commentating on that, me and Jordan, on Mondays. You can see that on Jordan's Twitch channel, which is JPH_99, for more racing action as well. In terms of the other Monday leagues, we did have the WTCR on Race Room, but unfortunately, server issues meant that the round had to be abandoned. So they'll be trying to sort it. I believe they're going to be racing at Aragon next week, and Spa's still going to be the finale. But what I believe Lee is doing is he's sort of slotting in another round instead in the middle between that, because it was due to be racing around Ningbo, but instead, I don't know whether that might have contributed to the server issues, but he's decided instead we might go around Watkins Glen, but he'll put an announcement out on that for Race Room, which is unfortunate really. It's been going well, that league, but not to worry, the gents will be racing again on Monday, so you'll be able to see them on Jacko Racing, which is on...
no, it's not Jacko Racing. Jacko covers the iRacing.
Yeah, that's right.
That's CA Alex Everett.
That's the one, absolutely.
On
Everett covers
Facebook.
That. And it's on YouTube as well, isn't it, I think?
I think it's on both, yeah.
Yeah, it gets uploaded later on.
Everest was on YouTube, boys.
No.
Joke?
No. Bye, Mike. We do have one more lead to talk about before we go on to our F1 exploits from tonight. We do have the Ginetta GT4 League on Assetto Corsa for PlayStation 4. How did they get on, Jordan? Round us off before we talk absolute nonsense for 10-15 minutes.
Well, they went to Silverstone and it was wet, which is a wonderful thing on ACC. Many people will tell you that the frame rate never likes it. But in terms of what happened, RV Motorsport had his lead cut ever so slightly, which has meant he still hasn't mathematically won the title. He finished a second and third, but Mamster took a double victory at Silverstone. So he took 42 points away from that. In terms of everyone else, so race 1, the top 3 was Mamster, RV Motorsport, and NXTGEN Ultra. So Kevin getting a podium there, which he'll be delighted with actually, because he's not had the greatest of seasons. He's found it quite hard to settle on console with the ACC. In terms of race 2, Mamster won that one as per. GT Delhi B got second, and RV Motorsport third. So in terms of points overall, RV Motorsport has 249, Mamster has 208, so 41 points there with 63 remaining. So it is possible for RV Motorsport to win the championship next time out, because it's a really weird one. They've got 69 points remaining, which means Bathurst is a double sprint race. So as long as RV Motorsport is 22 points or more ahead of Mamster leaving Bathurst, he would have won the championship, which I feel, gents, is a very high probability.
It's a high probability, but that's the point, Jordan. It's a probability.
It is.
The thing is, Bathurst is a hard place to be. Yeah, if you go, it's one of those tracks. If you can master it, you're in for a chance, sort of thing. Of like, no one can, get close to you. But obviously, if you can't get a hang of it, it will do you over the top of the mountain. So
I think if you have any any concern for any corner at Bathurst going through the mountain, I think that's when it'll exploit your mistake during a race, especially in Assetto Corsa. It'll happily punish you whenever you make a mistake.
You've got to be committed. It's that it is literally that sort of track where commitment is literally. You've got to take the whole Colin McRae, you know. If in doubt, just go flat out. Literally, that's.
Coming to shot over the mountain, drifting into the S's.
Yeah, why not? Be sick.
More likely because you probably won't get it back and slam into the wall going through the dipper, but.
But then you can, but then you can turn around and go, I meant that. You know what I mean? Play it cool, George. I meant that.
Could go back to the garage. Why'd you hit the wall? Oh, I meant it, mate. Did you not see it?
Didn't you get the number, mate? We did discuss this in the meeting on Monday that you didn't turn up to. That one.
Outside of looking cool though, I think the GT4 Genettas have gone quite well this season. So
yeah,
we'll see how
they have been confirmed. They have been confirmed for season 20 as well.
I was going to say,
but they're not. They won't be on a Monday. They will be moving to Fridays. They will be replacing the current GT4 World Tour.
Right. Okay. So that's an interesting one in terms of how Mondays are going to look for next
That's
season.
what rumours are going about as at the moment. But they are definitely
confirmed. Follow this space, and you'll have the answers.
Yeah, they are returning in season 20. It's just the day that will be announced as and when the season 20 events pages get put up.
Absolutely will. So we'll move it on to the crux and the final talk about of the matter was F1 2020 PS4 League tonight. We were racing around Monte Carlo, and well, I mean, Jordan, would you like to get the pain out of the way first, or would you like to wait till last?
Well, I can go first if you want.
Go on, Jordan.
Thing is, the longer you leave it, son, the more it's going to hurt.
Well, I'm going to make it basically as brief as possible, put it that way. Qualified 4th, which I was quite happy with, and Jack knows that. I was happy with 4th in the end because I made a slight mistake. I clipped the water back on the quali lap, which wasn't ideal. Got off the line, got turned around at turn 1, drove around on my own, tangled with a couple of AI, finished 4th. I don't know how, but it was a disappointing day. Should have been 2nd in the end, but it is what it is, I think.
Yeah, you got done over at the start, got done over by the safety car, done over by the AI. But for you though, George, I think you were saying to me that you felt as if you were more consistent though, which has got to be a step forward.
Yeah, that's about the only positive I can take from it is that I won't say specialist, but I had someone come and have a look at the wheel for me on the game, aka Snav. He came up, had a quick play on it, just changed a few settings, and yeah, it's I think I'm definitely a lot more consistent on the game now. So I'm kind of half looking forward to the end of the season and seeing if I can transfer that consistency into pace as I get used to it.
Yeah, we've got Spa next up, I believe, haven't we? So
we have indeed.
So that'll be a really good race to see how Jordan's...
Weirdly enough, that's where we tested the settings.
Yeah, so Jordan will be well up for that. Mikey, how'd it go for you, mate?
Here, do you want to go first, mate? Because I could
No,
I insist.
Go on, Mikey.
I insist.
I'm
just kiss
you,
already.
Go on, mate.
Okay. Right, I'm not going to lie. It wasn't going well practice. I would have been... obviously, I just don't get it, like, obviously, with what happened. Obviously, what happened, but then whatever's being looked into by whoever, you know, it's not for me to get involved with. But, yeah, obviously, practice I did okay. I had decent consistency. Went to quali, it just went to hell. Ended up at the back, just worked my way up there. obviously first corner, clipped my wing on a McLaren. Yeah, just had to go in the pits and then try and catch as much as they could. And somehow the simpletons, I'm pleased to announce, got a 2-3. Somehow we don't even know ourselves what happened. We're still looking at the data, trying to figure out what has gone on. But yeah. But for a track that, I won't lie, me and Matty do not like driving around. We got a pretty good result. So obviously Belgium's going to be a hard one. So.
I mean, you finished. I mean, you could have very easily finished second, Mikey, but you decided to be
a team player. To be fair, I'd imagine yourselves would probably do the same if it was in the same position, chaps, I believe.
No.
I'll let Jordan comment on that one.
No. And the only time I've ever let Jack pass is probably middle of the race when I know he's quicker than me.
No, to be fair, when Matty passed me, he was quicker than me. And then obviously,
but
I'd used my excess fuel.
Yeah, but at the same time, I'd probably only let Jack pass if I knew he was going to get higher up. I think in your position, I don't think Matty was getting any higher, so I probably would have defended a bit more.
But no, that's the thing. It's sort of, I know it doesn't close the gap massively on you guys, but it gives a bit of a competitive sort of wallow. We're trying to keep up with us. We've been plagued by really bad connection issues between the pair of us this season, unfortunately. But
yeah,
oh well, it is what it is, right? So.
Yeah. So for me, practice went fine. I didn't have any issues. Qualifying, I broke my front wing at Massenet at turn 3, so I had to deal with that all the way through the rest of the lap. Somehow qualified P2, only 3/10 off Carl. Carl was outstanding. Once again in qualifying, he took pole last season as well. He got it again. Turn 1 was the McLaren showdown between the drivers. I got squeezed into the wall at turn 1. I'm not blaming anyone on that front because it's just two cars side by side. There could have been more room left, but it's not worth sending. So that happened. I drove around with a broken front wing for a couple of laps. I was doing okay, but I thought after another little mistake that I made later on in the race about lap 4, I thought I'd try and do something different. Pitted on for the mediums very early on. Replaced the front wing, managed to get a nice gap to Matty, who had just pitted behind me. Jumped Alex in the pit stops as well, which was massively important. And then was running around in second, and I thought it's not going to get any better than that. And then the safety car comes out. I bolted on a set of mediums, a new fresh set, managed to time it just so. Carl had already gone past the pit lane, so I thought, right, I've got a chance to stay on the back of his gearbox for a number of laps. Safety car comes out at the end of lap 12, comes in at the end of lap 12. And then me and Carl engaged in about 3 laps worth of very intense battling for first place. I was no further away than 7/10 at any one point in the final lap and a half that we were fighting. I wasn't close enough to make a move, but I had a chat with Carl post-race, and he just said, "Oh, I was nervous with me behind," and Carl was the first to blink. It was a case of one of us is going to make a mistake, and it was Carl coming out of Portier where Senna crashed when he was having his amazing drive at Monaco many years ago. Carl just got up on the curb, spun round, and that put me in the lead, and I was quite shocked. I wasn't expecting to be winning the race, and yeah, just took it home at that point. It was relatively straightforward. I didn't have any dramas. I didn't have any broken front wings after my earlier one, so it was a nice race. I got a race win. I feel sorry for Carl because he should have won that. It was his, and the safety car just screwed him over. Because I don't think anyone would have caught him in a month of Sundays, to be honest with you. He was that far in front. but I'll take it. I'll happily take a race win. It extends my gap in the championship standings. I think obviously Mikey and Matty team orders have managed to stop the gap from extending any further than what it could have done had Mikey finished second. But there's still 2 rounds to go, and you can't take anything for granted in this league. I don't know if Jordan, you know what the points might be loosely.
Not at the moment. I need to go back and go through it.
Can't remember what the gap was between me and Matty last week.
I think if it was 16, something like that. I know it was double figures.
Looks like it was about 20 between you and Lionel Greasby.
Was it 16 at the time? Obviously for the team competition between the 4 of us.
Teams wise, now you're a lot further behind. You teams wise, you guys were 41 behind us.
And that will have become
40. I want to say
40. Yeah.
I want to say 46. 45, 46. Because you got fastest lap, didn't you, Jack?
Yeah, you'd have got 12 for 4th. So that'd be 38, and the Simpsons got 33, so a 5-point extension. So it'd be 46, yeah. 46 between TeamDiveBomb.com with BTR, that's me and Jordan, between the Simpsons and Mikey and Matty. But that's still doable with 2 rounds to go. I mean, a non-finish from the pair of us at Spa or Austria, and it's all up in the air again. And we know that Spa and Austria are both going to be very competitive circuits, especially Austria, of course. It's a very quick circuit, very low lap time, so anyone could take a race win around there. What was the gap between me and Matty? Jordan, sorry, in the Drivers' Championship?
So I've just popped some figures in. Just for
okay.
this, just for this sake, I have to go back and go through the whole lot afterwards. So the gap will now be 28 points. You on 149, Matty on 121.
It's close.
I will still hold third in the championship with 107.
I just think back to Singapore when Matty got disconnected from that race, because that would have been...
annoying.
Yeah, because that would have been...
20 seconds off the road he was as well.
I think about 10, 11 seconds. He was up the road, he was gone because of my jump start. And instead, I mean, realistically, now the gap should be 10 points in my favour. That not have happened rather than 28. So
28 is still doable though.
It's yeah, absolutely. I'm not taking anything for granted. You know, Spa's going to be very tough to sort out, and the controller is very good around Spa. So
that's because they don't have to tap anything.
yeah, so you don't have to worry too much. So it's going to be very close. I know Matty's good around Spa as well. So all to play for. 2 rounds to go.
I think what worries me is when Spa. I like Spa. I'm just not very consistent around Spa.
The biggest thing with Spa and controller is the controller can be quite quick because of the change of direction. Because you've got Le Combe, La Fagna, where those changes of directions is quite critical. But you've got stuff like Pouhon, which is quite long, and the thing is, once you turn in, if you start understeering or oversteering, the controller almost over adjusts sometimes if you're not careful. So it's a really fine balance.
Well, if it rains, that'll be great. Well, I mean, unless we've got anything else to say, Mikey, Jordan, anything else to add on the leagues?
Not league-wise.
I forgot to mention, obviously, with the BMs. Next week, Sunday, should I say, we will be at the Red Bull Ring in the wet.
Oh, that'll be good, right?
So, get your practice in, boys, because I know I'm going to be scared. I'm going to be driving around like a granny, so yeah, that should be fun.
Someone get the Zimmer frame for Mikey.
Yes, please. I might just stay a pit, play it safe.
Yeah, so that's what we've got to look forward to next week. We are getting into the the business end of the championship now. Obviously, when we return for next Tuesday's podcast, we'll have done 9 rounds for the Monday leagues and F1 on a Tuesday league, so that'll be very interesting to see how the championship is shaken down with a round to go. Actually, no, sorry, with the other Monday leagues, there's still a gap of 1 round between the minis and the the WTCRs for race room, so still a little bit of time to go for those two. So forget everything I've just said, but nonetheless, thanks very much for listening to the Turbo Tuesday podcast, as always on with NXTGEN. Do feel free to tune into our social media channels, of course, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Discord, and obviously you've got the YouTube channel to have a look at. And don't forget to look at our commentators as well. JackTM53 on Twitch, CJW Racing on Twitch, alongside of JPH99 on Twitch too. We've got Jacko Racing, and of course Alex Everett as well, who are posting theirs on Facebook and YouTube, as well as all of the Twitch mentions that I've just said there will be on YouTube. But nevertheless, it's bye from all of us. So it's bye from Mikey.
Goodbye.
Bye from Jordan.
Good night.
And it's bye from me, and wherever you might be in the big wide world, stay safe and have a good one.